Our next lesson is lesson 3.6, Big Mac exchange rates. This uses direct variation and proportions. Under the part where it says 3.6 classwork, it talks about exchange rates. An exchange rate is a number that describes how much of one currency you can trade for another currency. For example, if the U.S. exchange rate for Canadian currency is 1.2, it means that you could trade $1 US for $1.20 Canadian. When travelers talk about how expensive or how cheap a certain country is, it's often a reflection of the exchange rate. The Big Mac costs mentioned earlier, the average cost of the U.S. in July in 2016 was $5.06. In Russia, it was $2.15. In Norway, the cost was almost $6. Number 1 says, using the exchange rate you found earlier, we're actually going to use the one that goes along with the answer key. The exchange rate we have that we're going to use through this lesson is that $1 US is equal to 58.4. It's hard to write small with the screen big. It's 58.4 rubles. Number 2 asks us to write that as a conversion factor with US dollars in the denominator. We did this a while back when we did the conversion fractions. So I want to write a fraction with $1 in the bottom. So what should go on top? The 58.4 rubles. We can now use this to calculate and convert between US dollars and Russian rubles. So 0 US dollars should be how many Russian rubles? What is 0 times 58.4? Yeah, it better be 0. What is 10 times 58.4? 584. 20 will be 1,168. 30 will be 1,752. 40 should be 2,336. Remember, I'm just getting these by multiplying 40 times 58.4. For the last one, I'm going to take 50 times 58.4, and I should get 2,920. Let's go ahead and draw a graph based on this so we know we should put some labels on here. Let's do the bottom axis starting at 0, and every other one can be 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I do want to make sure I fit all my numbers in, but I don't want to have them all scrunched in on one side. On my y-axis, this was dollars here. On my y-axis, I need to get all the way up to about 3,000. So if I make every other one 400, that should get me to the right place. So 400, 800, 1,200, 1,600, 2,000, 2,400, 2,800, and the very top being 3,200. And what was that label? That was our number of rubles. So we know we had 0, 0, so we'll put a dot at 0, 0. 10 was 584, so that's going to be pretty close to 600, which is roughly here. 20 was 1,168, so getting pretty close to 1,200. I have one I have to get rid of there. And of course my eraser's not working now. Eraser's only partially working, which is kind of weird. Alright, we'll ignore the one dot we have there. Going back. It's erasing weird things. So we did 20. At 30 we have 1,752. So roughly there. At 40 we have 2,336. So roughly there. And at 50, we have 2,920. So almost up to 3,000. And what do you notice about these points? If you were to connect them, and you had a steadier hand than I, they do form a straight line. They form a straight line because we have a constant rate of change, which we talked about in an earlier section. Turning to page 360, question number 5 says, find the slope of the line we graphed. What is that constant rate of change we just talked about? How much is it increasing by for each dollar? Well, that goes back to the ruble exchange. The slope is equal to 58.4. It represents the number of rubles that equal $1. Number 6 asks us to write an equation using X and Y that calculates the number of rubles Y you can trade for X American dollars. Which variable is the input and which is the output? Well, we know the equation is going to be Y equals, what was the slope? 58.4 times X being the number of American dollars. And my input is X. That's what's going in. What's coming out is Y. That is my output. Number 7 asks us to use the equation to find the current cost of a Big Mac in Russia using $2.15 as the equivalent in American dollars. So I am going to write the equation that we had, but I'm going to replace X with the input, the $2.15. So it's going to be Y equals 58.4, but then in place of X, I'm going to put what X is equal to, 215. Now use your calculator to take 58.4 times 215. What do we get? We get 125.56 rubles. Eight asks us to use our graphing calculator to verify. I will do that in a separate video. So that will be an additional video that you can look at. Number 9 says, how many rubles do you think you would get if you exchange $0? If I give them $0, how many rubles are they going to give me back? The answer better be 0. Number 10 asks, what do you think would happen if you doubled the number of dollars you're exchanging? If you doubled the number of dollars you're exchanging, what do you think that would do to the number of rubles that you'd get in exchange? Find an example in the table to confirm your answer. I think if we double the number of dollars, the number of rubles will double as well. Rubles will double. Let's go back to our table for a second and verify that. So in the table, when I went from 10 to 20, that's doubling. In US dollars, I went from 584 to 1,168. What's 584? And you double it times 2, 1,168. So these are also indeed doubled. If you triple the number of US dollars you're exchanging, what do you think will happen to the amount of rubles you get? I'm pretty sure that it will triple. It asks us again to find an example in the table. Let's go back to the table. We'll do this one in a different color. We'll do this one in yellow. When I went from 10 to 30, that's tripling US dollars. What is 584 times 3? It should be 1,752. So it appears that they are doubling and tripling, which is indeed true. If you cut the number of US dollars you're exchanging in half, What do you think will happen to the number of rubles you get in exchange? I think the number of rubles will also be cut in half. Let's go back to our chart to verify that. My chart's looking kind of messy. We'll pull a different color. Let's use purple this time. Cutting in half. So if I went from 40 to 20, 20 is half of 40. What is 2,336 divided by 2? Well, it should be 1,168. Verify that in your calculator. So it appears that we're correct, that if I cut the dollars in half, I also cut the number of rubles in half. So here are some conclusions we can make. $0 gets you 0 rubles. If the amount of dollars goes up, the number of rubles goes up by the same factor. If the amount of dollars goes down, the number of rubles goes down by the same factor. When this happens, it means that one variable quantity is found simply by multiplying a second variable quantity by a constant. We say that these two quantities vary directly, or they are directly proportional. We call this type of relationship direct variation. Algebraically, the thing that shows us that two quantities x and y vary directly is an equation of the form y equals kx, where k is some real number. It's a constant. So if your equation from question 6 doesn't look like that, we may have done something wrong. Here is a nice box to show us what direct variation looks like. Verbally, we say the quantity y varies directly as the quantity x, and the constant of variation is k. Algebraically, y equals k times x. An example would be y equals 3 times x. Numerically, you can put it into a table or have your calculator put it into a table. And we can also graph it. What kind of shape does it form for direct variation? Are we a curve or are we a line? Direct variation will form a straight line. You are now ready to begin your group work on page 361.